listening to Enlivening Musings, a podcast to enhance your life so you live fully alive. Sponsored by the Pleasure Fairy app. Download it for more support. Welcome to Enlivening Musings. Today we are talking about being your own self-healer. So welcome, I'm Crystal.
And I'm Katie.
And let's get into it.
Okay, so this conversation started when I was listening to a podcast last night, and I got kind of triggered when they were talking about like being like your own self-healer or something to that effect. And it was interesting because I've just been kind of going through this whole experience of deeper embodiment and healing into some of these like really deep belief systems that were embedded in me. So I just got back a few weeks ago now from an intensive, they call it Therapy for the Therapist program in myofascial release world, where I went and received 3 hours a day. It was really intense. It's funny, as a side note, people are always like, oh, was it really relaxing? And I'm like, no. And I think people who have really experienced like the true depths of myofascial release or even just somatic healing realize like, it's yes, but no. I said I cried a lot. It was a lot. And it's taken a few weeks, maybe almost getting close to a month now for me to really continue to like feel into all this stuff that happened when I was there. But this is all tying back into them being your own self-healer. It triggered me because one thing, deep belief system I had was that I had to do it all myself.
Right.
And I should be able to figure it out and take care of it myself and do it perfect and right and all that stuff. But what I realized and what I've been realizing since I come back and it had started before then of me trying to like reach out for help more, but being my own self-healer means like listening to me and then finding the people I need to help support me on that. So it doesn't mean if you're healing yourself and you're your own self-healer is true, but it means listening and then finding that support. So I don't have to do it on myself. And I really just felt that and embodied it so much last night. I had to pull Crystal and be like, we have to talk about this because it's still just really, I don't know if that's happened to anyone listening, but or you, Crystal, when it just starts to like hit you in like waves almost of just like, oh my gosh, like this huge realization, and it just feels so big.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Yeah, that's how I feel about all embodiment levels, and it's weird to call them levels because I feel like then there's like a hierarchy, and that's not what it is. It's more of a depth or it's just a new layer, you know? And that's how I feel about most embodiment things is those ahas and those things are just, it's bringing everything deeper, that knowingness, that understanding. And so there's so many times when it hits that way where it's the big ahas, and then other times where it's just kind of trickling at the surface, and it is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, but it's just more subtle, and for that concept, like when I was listening to you talking about it, it's like, yes, because, even for me, when I, as like a practitioner of any of the things that I do, it's like I sit there and I say, well, I'm doing all of this almost to put myself out of a job because you can do it on your own. Like you do have that capacity and that power and that ability, and you don't need me. And at the same time, I'm here doing what I do because people do need other people. We are like a pack species, and we need other people. That's, the whole evolution or unfolding of how much community is really important as we're getting back to that, especially when we talk about traditional cultures and living in a community and all of those types of things. And it's just been so discombobulated as we went from being foragers and travelers to, staying settled to then, what's the word I'm looking for when all the buildings started happening?
Like the
industrial
complex.
Yes. Yeah, and so it's kind of changed things. And now we're in this whole other evolutionary phase of where we're realizing all of that. So it's like, yes, it's true 1000% that you are your own healer. It's quote unquote your responsibility. And at the same time, all these people are on the planet to help facilitate all of that, whether they're just holding space for you or they're actually utilizing some sort of modality or any of that. Because even being a practitioner, just giving a treatment, you're feeling how the person's body can unlock just by holding these certain places and ways and allowing the fascia to just soften and unwind. And, you know, that's something you can only do so much of that to yourself. In fact, you know, it's funny. One of my kiddos, my partner was talking about putting henna on his back, or had henna on his back at one point in time, way back when. And she's like, so did you do it yourself? And it's like, it gave me super goofy visuals of trying to like put henna on your back, right? Or even draw a picture on your back, or how could you tattoo your own back, or any of that, like just how silly that is. So I feel like it's all kind of intertwined with that.
It is. That's cool. That will be a cool analogy to describe for people of like you can't do it all yourself. But yeah, the same thing I tell you know, when I work on my patients, I'm always like, you did a good job, because in a way, it gets so it's a little hard for me to put it in words because I'm still like processing it, because I'm like supporting their healing and doing the techniques, but they are being brave enough to go inside and feel. So it's kind of this dance, but I don't know, like I said, just feeling it on a different level. So I don't know. I mean, sharing this, hopefully there's someone who hears this and realizes like that difference, because I feel like maybe that was just such a buzzword of like, you're your own healer, and so it just like got in my head that I just couldn't ask for help.
Right. And I think that's the biggest, most important takeaway in any of it, is that component of like, yeah, okay, you are. And what does that actually look like? Because I think a lot of people are like you and want to do that, you know, like they're sitting there or having like perfectionism type things that comes up. And like just listening to you talk, it's like you can hear how there were like those deep-seated beliefs anyway that have probably shown up in different ways prior, of where and how you have to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
You know? And so like that was just like amplifying that, like, of course I have to do this myself.
Yeah, because that was part of the process, as it just kept coming up in every story, in every aspect of my life, and surprising me when it would. I was like, whoa, I was like, there it is again. Wow, there it is again. And part of it, you know, I don't know, a little bit of ego involved, I think, with feeling some of that. I don't know. I'm still like figuring out like where it all comes from. And I guess I don't really have to know, obviously, but it's just been interesting. And to me, it's also been tied into being able to receive and be cared for, and just totally, cut all the chains of that, not being able to, which a lot of that, I always tell Crystal, started when we started doing work in the VIP group with like heart opening and just connection. And I mean, it's interesting when you look back at the path of your life and the healing that occurs and how it all just like ripples through. It's just so amazing. It's so many things that started. So
yeah,
it's really neat.
Well, I thought about that receiving piece when you were talking about like a client on your table, and like just even saying like, yay for you for showing up, but then also that ability to receive. I mean, how many people, and I think this should be our next episode, but like really appreciating the slowness of it too, because I think it ties right into that goal-oriented drive, go type stuff that we talk about a lot, because it's like you get this goal or this idea and then you can beat yourself up because you're not there yet. You're not attaining this certain thing yet, you know? And I think that's another thing that just ties right in, and anybody listening, for that concept of being really gentle with yourself, because healing is not linear, and it's a spiral, and it's always just it's a journey, and there's no end destination really. Which then makes me think about all the times where I'm just like, okay, but you also don't need to constantly be healing either, you know, like that's also
that gets intense too. And I've felt that with myself and other people. I'm like, you know, let's just take a break, just go have fun.
Right. It
gets intense sometimes.
Stop staying in that zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, I remember telling the therapist when I was there, just kind of feeling like I wasn't even doing it right, you know, because I was just being really honest. Like, you know, am I having the experience I want? Because it was a big investment financially.
Right.
It's something I'd been looking forward to forever. And I was even trying to like do it right on receiving this. It was just it's so funny, but not funny in a way of like how it was showing up. And then, you know, I left there feeling totally in the chaos of it. Just like, what was this? I don't know if I felt any better, like very just in the mess of it. So it's been really cool to see how, again, as time goes on, I'm feeling different in my body, and the goals I set, I have achieved. Actually, it just trickled down a few weeks down the road, and all the different things. So that's what I mean. I guess that would be something I would say too for people, if you're doing work with somebody or just wherever you're at, just stick with it and just keep watching for the signs. I had someone the other day talking about how they finally felt their pain was better after, like, they're like, it's been about 18 months. Can that be? And I'm like, yep. Right. I just experienced it myself, that sometimes it just takes a while until you unlock that deep holding pattern.
Yeah,
it can take years, or it can take one session.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let us know your takeaways. Have you been in that type of a situation where you've tried to carry it all yourself, even your own healing journey, where you could easily have benefit from reaching out for a little bit more support, some sort of a guide and or practitioner, and just all of it. What are your takeaways?
Yeah, let us know.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. You can find us on Instagram at Enlivening Musings. Connect with Crystal on her app Pleasure Fairy. Connect with Katie on her website wellnesswithkatie.com. Enjoy.